And thank you everybody for assisting. It's 6:30 yeah, for me. In Chile, my name is Leslie, and you can find me on LinkedIn as Leslie Zerna or in social media as Leslie Sandres, my middle name. So what I want to talk about is very straight to the tools. It will be mostly related to the byte coding tools and the platforms, although you see I have many tabs already to share some projects, ideas, and resources you can start working and mostly start building something. So I go very quickly into the different tools and platforms we have in order to give you ideas which one to start using for which kind of project, right? So if you are interested on having a rapid prototyping and you are either a builder or a curious creator, AI Studio can be your best options. I'll be sharing with more detail, but I just want to show you here. This is something I built through a prompt that actually works and actually is a game. And things that I because of have the Google Cloud Platform credits, I can actually put it online through Cloud Run. So I go a little bit on detail for that. But that's exactly what we are trying to see when you are building with this kind of tools, because this is really interesting and actually I'm publishing in real time here. But what I want to show you is I have this URL that I'll share with you, and you can start playing with my game, which is Snake. But what's the idea behind actually to have this sort of a space that you might be used to with cursor, windsurf, any other? Is how you go from a prompt to build something to actually start editing in the same space and mostly getting the code as a beginning, as a starting point. And even you can, beyond publishing, which I've showed you here, which is just 2 clicks, you can go to GitHub and create a repo where you will have all these structures and keep moving on. So AI Studio is one of my favorite tools so far for prototyping, exploring models. Like I have another option here, which is just the playground, and you can start exploring different models. And it's really interesting how you can, for example, get idea about the latest models and also some value information on this. Since you know what is this model best for, some kind of idea about the tokens and cost, knowledge cutoff, like when, so what's the time where you have the model information trained on, so that's the data where the model was trained on, and the release data. So we can see we have very kind of new models, and you can be updated about the models that will be, deprecated or shut down. But also you can go into open source. If you like exploring open source options, I have some examples to show you here. You can now explore them in this same space where you have the different versions. You can actually just select the model and start working here. You have the options for from system instructions, and you have another values you can set up here and start exploring and chatting. But we have more, and we have the agentic IDE. So you have heard before about the agents and how they are creating different workflows in different industries. And it's really interesting, like one of these idea of agents before an agentic IDE is focused on development. So I've been using a lot of anti-gravity to build small prototypes, but mostly go into fixing software code. So I download firstly, and this is what you get. You have to install this software in contrast with AI Studio, but it's really nice that you can actually create your workspaces and you can start building on that. So what I usually do once I have this installed is actually to go into my GitHub repo and bring in my workspace some of this coding repo and start checking, building, debugging, because the agent behind is really cool, and you can actually very focused on this software development, and moreover today that we have skills for some repetitive tasks, and we will chat about this. But what's the idea behind to get really hands-on when you are a developer and a builder? Because this is real the AI partner we have here. Okay, and if you're more kind of terminal person, yeah, I've been using terminal Gemini CLI with some experiments, and I'm running different scripts to mostly audit um, some different exercises I have for learning, so notebooks I have for learning. And actually, this is really cool when you can just launch from your terminal inside a specific workspace and folders, and you can say just check this with these conditions and return a CSV with all this information that you can, you know, just check the info. So this is mostly focused when you are really system level task, but this is a overview at a glance because I want to go a little bit deeper with some topics on the time we have left. And I'll be focusing a little bit on vibe coding because the idea is you can test whenever you have the time any of these tools to build something. I know I'm referring to anti-gravity as my coding partner to fix issues. However, it's also a good starting point where you are actually building a project. And I've been using the approach of SDD, the spec-driven development. I explain a bit more about what is this Pomodoro timer, a small project. And oh, my screen is black. It should be the slides there. Okay, and should be better. Yes, just let me check. Perfect. So you can have the different tools here, and you can have. Okay, thank you. So you can have the different tools and start building. And that's actually referring to vibe coding, which is not really old concept. Just a year ago, it was referring like building something through prompts and using different tools, right? And beyond the traditional way where we are starting from some complex syntax of programming languages and trying to find the best tool to deploy your project, I found this very interesting in the way like how we are describing an idea in English or your language. I've been trying to build something in Spanish and it's working. It's working fine. Actually, to go from the idea to specific decoding and even a demo where you can actually prototype what you are building, all right? So what's the full stack for vibe coding, and what's this related to the first slide I was sharing is actually that vibe coding can actually goes beyond just typing your idea into something that can becomes like an application, right? So let me share here three main steps where you can actually go from the idea to the publish, as I just did here, you know? Like I go to Google Studio to build, I go to apps, and actually, oops, let me check here. I go to build, I can describe my idea through a prompt. I have some inspiration here, but from that prompt, I actually go to build something to get the code, to get the preview, and actually to either have it as a GitHub repo, which can be private or public, and publish it through my Google Cloud project, which was my project, and to have it running in the Cloud RAM. So what's the idea behind? And let me share really quickly this. On the first step, I think this is the most hard step because you need to think about what you're going to build, right? And that's called the intent. You need to define what's the core problem you really want to solve here. Uh, any kind of application. And actually, I've been using this kind of tools, Gemini. This can be actually this very same in Gemini, um, application, where I'm in a web application, and you can start brainstorming your ideas. You can go even as a deep research in something you want to build and how it should be and so. But also something really cool that I was showing here, oops, is a stitch. I hope already you have heard about this. Sorry, I didn't have it open. So what you have here, the very common window where you can, from the prompt, create a design either for app, either for web, and you can even choose some of the Gemini models here. But just let me share with you some of the prompts I've been working on. And actually here I've been having this kind of launch pad, but let me share this one. I've been trying to schedule my running plan in order to run a marathon, but it is still some design, right? But that's the cool idea here. You go from the prompt, you can select any of these designs, and you can continue conversation on this. And moreover, beyond this, actually, if you finish your designs here, you can connect through MCP in anti-gravity. What I mean is, like, if I'm in anti-gravity and I go to my agent manager and I search on MCP connections stitch, I can actually find these projects and I can say, like, take this design and start building on this. So I don't go from scratch from the design and discussions how the design should look like, but actually just I want to build what I have been designing here. And that's pretty cool. I've been testing with this other project I was showing you here. Oh, sorry. With this launchpad. So actually I try to define here what is a launch page with the logo and everything, and just connect through MCP to say, like, this is my final design, now start coding. It's not perfect, saying like it will code every point, everything we have here, but it's really a great starting point. And that's very simple, since you just go here to the settings and you can actually create your API key. And once you are in the, so you see I have my API key here. And since you are in anti-gravity, you go to the agent manager that I can show you later. But that's the hardest step to begin with. And actually, about the SDD, I'm using two approaches. I'm using the very simple, where actually I'm creating my own spec MD, and I'm through Google Anti-Gravity or Google Gemini CLI, just to start building through this. Because these are the basics, on SDD, to go from the text tab, from what actually I'm starting to build, what's going to be the features, and mostly what is not. I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to try this, because, sometimes these models or these agents try to get like try to look very smart and beyond, and try to give you more things that you are actually asking in this first step or in overall. So I will recommend you can check a little bit like how to build this spec MD, and even ask here, because there have been some specs I've been building through these agents, to these models on Gemini 3. Yeah, but also I've been using more sophisticated based in the spec kit, for example, and more recommendations on what it is SDD. And actually, you go, from mission. What's it's the same idea on the Pomodoro. So, what's the vision? Sorry, mission, vision, core problems, and I have another document where it's gonna be detailed with the features and for ideas. Right, it's gonna be my first features, some steps in between the other feature, and also what's going to be the roadmap. So we're going to build in this step. It might seem a little bit too much at the beginning because you have to do a lot of writing and definitions, but if you're aiming to really use the coding agents, to really use the any AI model even from here, this is going to be really, really helpful on that. Okay, so beyond this first step, we go to the build, and that's going to be easier now because actually this is going to be referring to the vibe, what I will show you with the vibe coding. And your best tools will be AI Studio and Anti-Gravity, as I show. So AI Studio is a web base. You just need a Gmail account to get here and to explore the different models as I was showing before. And you can choose the models, gather some information, start testing, referring to some different tools, even something important, getting into safety settings. So you can actually configure a little bit here, like is it related, how do you say, control the responses that could be harmful in these different categories, you see? Because I believe that building with AI beyond an exotic application, it really has to be with a responsible building as with a responsible use. Yeah, sometimes we just get to this step and I just build something and that's it. But actually, I totally believe this is a good time for start sharing what you're building. And as I just did with 2 clicks here connected to my Google Cloud platform, actually, I just put these applications, I should say, into Cloud RAM. So we have it here with music and so to start playing. But what's the idea behind? Rely on Google Cloud Platform and mostly Google Cloud RAM. That's what you need the credits for. Because once I decide to publish, once I decide to publish here, you saw I already had connected my Google Cloud account and projects, and you can see here, this is my Google Cloud platform. And actually, this is really interesting because if it's the first time you are getting it, you will have some kind of project by default. So here you can check I have different projects, and this is my my best example where I reading my vouchers and credits, and you can actually go through the menu and you can go to building, and you will find this kind of credits. Oh, well, it should be loading. There we go. So I have multiple billing accounts. I didn't put my credit card information. I'm relying through these demos through trial the account. Once you redeem your credits, you can actually find, you see, I've been playing with different projects. So I have this trial billing account, and you go here with the credits and you'll find more information. So I redeemed for the byte coding projects, I believe, like $5. And those $5 will show you like these are your credits with the try GCP. Actually, they last around 6 months. So you have 6 months to spend your $5, and you see I redeemed this in early April, and I've been deploying only with this account, this kind of projects to have them in this cloud run. And actually, I've been spending cents. I mean, it's not even a dollar. So $5 is actually pretty cool on this. Awesome. So that's the main idea you can gather from here. Like, as the event is actually going from concept to deployment, if you rely in by coding and this kind of tools you actually go from your idea to publish. I just did in this very quick example, but I want to show you a little bit more to give you more insights. And I know I only have 8 minutes, but just let me go very quickly on this idea on the when to start. I mean, the starting point for Google AI Studio, any idea you want to build fast. Google Anti-Gravity, you really want to go deeper on engineering task or mission, as I showed you with my specs to get into LCD. Or Gemini CLI, if you're more into terminal-based development and you want to go into your folders, for example, to build stuff. And it's really cool in Gemini CLI that you can actually connect to different tools. Like, I mean, you can go to Nano Banana, and so let me see if I can show you some extensions here. Oops. Because this will give you more power through the terminal to go on. Yep. And just recalling some glossary, because I know sometimes you get confused, everybody gets confused on what's the AI model, what's the difference with agentic. I just want to make sure that the agentic is referring to the AI models, but not as the way we used to have them 1, 2 years ago. Because, what we have been hearing lately is related to agent, 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 and build with agents and do with agents. And that's referring to this. What is the agentic AI? And actually is going beyond chatting with your AI model, but actually taking them into actions, because they can go web browsing, they can run terminal commands, they can help you editing your files. That's why when we are talking about anti-gravity, we are talking about an agentic IDE, because beyond this IDE that we might be used to, I use a lot of Visual Studio too. This is actually, focus and referring to specifically software and building software and fixing software. And that's going to take the action to build something referring that you, for example, give this spec and this will start building on your behalf. So this is really cool. Beyond the think step, if you are wondering where to start, what to start building, there are plenty of ideas. I know sometimes it's like you have such a powerful uh, tools and you're like, I don't know what to do. But you can go from games to dashboards to productivity utilities, resource library, and so on. But beyond that, actually, what I want you to keep into account is to include AI features. Now that we have Nano Banana to generate images, we have fast AI response, Google search data, prompt-based video generation, AI-powered chatbot, Google Maps, transcribe audio, AI, and everything. Because I know later on you will have different talks with different projects and different views from agents and tools, but also rely on this idea from what you're going to start building, how you can add AI into this, and mostly and importantly, to close this first step, to go with a powerful prompt. I just will share here, and you can also get a screenshot from this, because I know we talk about we heard a lot about like the best prompt for this or the other, but actually through these tools beyond Gemini models, that's actually something I really like from anti-gravity. You actually can use okay, you can actually use anthropic models. I use Cloud Sonnet here. What is really cool is like how you interact and how specific you are. Because beyond giving the role, which is in green, I know it's super important the goal of the app you want to build. That's why take us longer in this first step, right? And you can provide the context, and you can even include what AI they will need, add some vibe and add some visual. So that's the main concept. And iterate will be important. Sharing some UIs, as I mentioned with Stitch, checking on the architecture because, yeah, everybody's talking about LCD now, and also, sharing this blueprint optimizations. And for the second step, I just wanted to highlight a little bit more into the shifting on the Gemini models, from the understanding through the thinking mode to really rely on the action where we are saying all these agents and agentic stuff. And actually how you can get started into AI Studio. As I mentioned, this is the Google AI Studio. This is free, this is on web. You can start exploring what are the different models. This is open source. You can go specifically to the build, you will have this. You can go to the gallery to gather inspiration. You can go to your apps. This is what I've been building actually, and start working on that, right? So you can publish your project. This is a little recap what I did from the same menu for publish, and that's where you need to set up your billing account on Google Cloud platform. That's redeeming the credits, right? With Google Anti-Gravity, what I mentioned, an agent first tool, referring actually to this agentic idea. And I don't have the anti-gravity here because I had many things running on, but I was hoping I have the the thing let me see, it used to have, but these are updated super fast. Oh, this is what I need. So actually when you go through Google Anti-Gravity, you will have this usual box where you can ask stuff or you can order stuff. But the good thing is that you can go from planning or you can go fast. So that's really cool because on planning is where I've been exploring more how to use better my aspects or even in this more sophisticated way. But it's really cool how you can go there and be really the architect of what you're building on, right? So download anti-gravity if you don't have it yet. Oh, sorry, here we are. So this is the agent manager that you will find in the anti-gravity, and you can go, as I say, from fast to planning to choose different models that you will have here and start building. That's what I was mentioning. This fast you can change actually by planning, and you go step by step, and you can actually modify that, like I don't want these colors, I prefer to use this, or I prefer to add this feature. So you already have the control on that. And some other prompting techniques where I want to highlight the skills, and you will find them in anti-gravity as well, to find, for example, in the documentation, while actually the skills are, I think they have been really useful so far, because I found myself saying one second, third time, like this is the kind of output I want, this is the kind of execution, and don't do this and just do this. So skills are helping me a lot on that. And publish is just as I mentioned. I just will take 10 seconds to share. I found this really useful. You will see that you will be share this kind of screen where you just need to redeem your credits, and this will take you to the credit application in the Google Cloud Console, where you just accept and continue. You don't need to add any credit card information. And as I showed you before, this will be reflected in your billing account through a project where you can find the credits option, and you will see, as I show you in the idea. So before leaving, just want to share as a resource. Well, I've been writing this on Dev2, but I've been recently to the Google Cloud Next, and I just will share you this post where I'm kind of summarizing what was my main take from the Dev keynote. Um, Let me introduce you to Code Labs if you haven't. But this is the code lab from this year's Google Next developer keynote, which is actually trying to develop a simulator to prepare a marathon in Vegas for 10,000 runners. So here you will find all the steps, and of course you will need GCP credits, the Google Cloud credits, and here are also the steps. And I believe there will be some trial credits. I'm very focused lately in the open source, so I've been building a sort of study buddy, and I'm using ML Studio for this. I just download for Mac, and I download the Gemma models. I'm releasing another blog post on that because the idea is to run it locally. Yeah, sorry, I took 2 minutes extra, but that was in a glance what I really wanted to share. And I hope this is really useful for you. And we can connect and you can enjoy the rest of the talks here.